All right, Shalom, Shalom. This is the brother Mayam coming back at you with another lesson through the Spirit and Power of Yahweh Shem Shai. I want to give all the praise and all the glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rochahak Wadash. Double honors to the elders, apostles of the great millstone, and much blessing and salutations to the Akim around the four corners of the earth who are diligently pushing out His truth and sincerity. And just want to do a quick video, just going into this article I came across. Once again, further edifying, the world, or those that watch, that are, not settled on their leaves, as some are, as most are, of correlating the scriptures with what's happening in today's time. And one of those things is the, what we see taking place, right now. You have, the government shutdown, going on. And it's all over this budget, bill. Them trying to pass a budget for this upcoming year, and the going back and forth with one another, to determine what's going to all be included in this budget. So, this article is actually entitled U.S. Senate Advances Massive Pentagon Spending Bill. And it says the nearly $1 trillion budget extends and boosts Ukraine aid through 2028. And if I'm not mistaken, this was one of the things that Donald Trump campaigned on as far as stopping, but here it is. These devils, as the scriptures tell you, that they're of a lying tongue. As soon as they be born, they born speaking lies. All right. But again, this is more indication of who the scriptures is talking about. All right, in Habakkuk chapter 2, because it goes on to say, I'll just read a little bit of this article. It reads, the U.S. Senate approved a $925 billion defense spending bill for a fiscal year 2026, extending and boosting Ukraine aid through 2028. The National Defense Authorization Act passed 77-20 after weeks of delay. The bill had been stalled amid disputes over troop pay during the ongoing government shutdown, triggered by Congress' failure to approve fiscal year 2026 funding, as well as over President Donald Trump's use of the National Guard to curb illegal immigration and U.S. military operations against alleged drug traffickers in the Caribbean. Lawmakers ultimately advanced the measure after agreeing to several amendments. So you see, in the midst of all this turmoil that you see being portrayed on the news of the left and the right going at it over, passing this bill, Congress, funding the government, so to say, they're ultimately still making moves in the background to, bipartisanly to continue to fund this war that we see taking place, because this war that's happening out here in the Caribbean is just, another twig in the fire. But the ultimate logs that we see burning are the ones happening overseas, especially out there in that Middle East region, pertaining to Russia, China with Israel and Hamas and Gaza and, Iran. Those are the big players, in the world, and, especially out there in the East, but nonetheless, here it is. You have, these devils still working together. As we've been telling y'all, these are two wings of the same beast. The left and the right are working the same goal. Okay, and you can see they passed 77-20. So the majority of this bill being passed, man. And this is an exuberant amount of money, $925 billion defense spending bill, extending and boosting Ukraine aid, while the majority of you Americans are catching all types of hell financially, man. All right. These are the same people that told you, all right, that they're going to put America first. Okay. Again, showing you that these devils are never hold true to their words. All right. This is a real quick Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 6. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increases that which is not his, how long, and to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. Now let's go into the blue letter there and get a couple words. And we've gone over this, time and time again, but we're going to keep going over these things time and time again because how's the Apostle Bar say? Repetition is the father of skill. Okay, so this is let's get that first word there, thick. All right, the thick clay. Okay, and the word there for thick clay is ibatya, ibatyat. Okay, you got the I, the bat, the ba, the ta, yat. Okay, ya, and then ta again. So ibatya. Okay, and so it reads, the outline of biblical usage: weight of pledges, heavy debts. And that's what these devils are doing. They're putting themselves into further debt. Okay, 925 billion in debt to further fund more war, for war to continue, instead of using that money to allocate it towards helping out you everyday Americans. These devils are continuing to fund this war. Okay, you can read it, you can read it how you want, but that's what this is going into. America is trillions of dollars in debt, and they're continuing to add, and they're fighting over how much and what to put into these debt bills, man, into the debt collection. Let's just get the U.S. debt caught and see exactly how much this nation is in debt. All right. And it reads U.S. total debt. All right. The U.S. national debt is showing $37 trillion. 37,851,560,000,000. Currently 400,000 and counting. Okay. The U.S. total debt, okay, this is including interest, credit card debt, all that, $104 trillion, and almost is $104.8 trillion in debt. Okay, that's how much these devils have put themselves in debt, man. Okay, again, showing you that Habakkuk 2:6 and who this is talking about. Woe unto him that increases that which is not his. How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. Verse 7 goes on to say, shall they not rise up suddenly, speaking on the other nations? All right, because what has Esau done? Esau, all he does through every year is increase his debt ceiling. He keeps going up and up and up so he can spend more and more and more and go into more and more debt to do what? To fund his war machine. Okay, to fund his ventures overseas. Okay, and what he does is he uses this money to go and set up shop in other nations, increase what he already has set up in these other nations, to safeguard and to further burden these other nations, man. That's why in verse 5, well, I'll just read from verse 4, Habakkuk 2:4, behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him. And there is nothing upright about these devils, man. There is nothing upright about what America has been doing and what it has done in the past. It's been nothing but wickedness. Okay, and soon, and actually not even soon, because we already see these other nations realizing that they've been duped and they don't want no more business to do with America. Okay. It says, but the just shall live by his faith. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine. This is what America does. Esau eat them through America. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man. Neither keepeth at home, who enlarges his desires hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. And this is what they do. They invite these nations to come be partakers in America's financial ventures. All right, come spend your money here. And this is what Trump has done this last go around. What did he do? He invited a lot of investors to come and invest in America. Okay, people rulers from, and one of the main faces was this Gook. Okay, this dude from, if I'm not mistaken, he was either from China or Taiwan. Okay, or maybe even Japan, but nonetheless, he's inviting on these other nations to come and be, and they also, letting these other nations buy up land over here in America. And America is not even that, because you have other nations that America is in debt to, that America is just having to give them land to pay off some of that debt. Okay. But what is his wine? Because it said, because he transgresses by wine. A lot of that wine comes from his money policies, his financial dreams that he sells these other nations. Like, look, you can come do business with us, and you'll be richer than you've ever been. And you can use that money towards your country and to help your people out. And you Americans should be uptight about that, because what about y'all? It's y'all tax money. It's y'all money that's being used to fund all these things. Because where are these devils just getting the money from? It's coming from you. This is why This is why you're paying more at the pump. This is why you're paying more at the end of the year in taxes. This is why you're paying more in food and all this and that. Okay, and all it's doing is making these other nations richer, man. Look at what happened with Russia. America put all these sanctions on them, and Russia did better than they've ever done. Why? Because not only were nations forced to do side deals with Russia, but the deals that they were still ongoing with America, okay, they were just having to pay more. More money was having to be used to pay for to do trade with that nation. Okay. So verse 6, shall not all these take up a parable against him? Who's the they? Who's these? The nations, man. The ones that he's heaping onto himself. The ones that he's setting up these garrisons in. The ones that he's doing these peace deals with. That he's doing these financial deals with. These investment deals. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increases that which is not his? How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay? Shall they not rise up suddenly, that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties unto them? Because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land, and of the city, and of all that dwell therein. You see? So these nations are ultimately going to spoil America, and they're laughing at y'all. Especially you dumbass Americans that think you know something, man. And ultimately, we know only what we've been told, or what we can find. At the end of the day, these devils can control what's being put out there, but it's getting to a point to where they can't really control it like that, which is why they're gonna come out with this digital a security blanket. But again, they have to create the chaos. Okay, this is why they're giving you that image of like it talks about in Daniel's chapter 7, or Daniel's chapter 2, the feet, part iron, part clay. All right. It says verse 35, Daniel's chapter 2. And actually, let me go up. And I'll start at verse 32. It says, this image's head was of fine gold, his breast and arms, and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, and his legs of iron, his feet part of iron and part of clay. Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands, that which smote the image upon his feet, that were of iron and clay, and brake them to pieces. Okay, this was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the broken pieces together, and became like the chaff of the summer of threshing floors, and the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain, and That's not what I wanted, but pretty much you get the point of that iron mixed with clay. All right, brothers should know, this chapter. We've been going into this for years, but that iron mixed with miry clay, all right, partly strong and partly weak. That's what America. That's going into America. Okay, this beast system, all right, which is America and the NATO EU nations, and we see them divided, and they're playing the part very well. Because what's going to come of this is that chaos, because they want this to come to pass. And this is why the Lord revealed these visions onto the men of old, so that we would know what was to be taking place in the last days. And we see it happening. Esau, Edom might be faking the funk to a certain extent, okay, showing you that these devils are all against each other, but they're really all in cahoots. Okay, as brothers have gone into it, man, these devils is like the brother Ash puts it, it's just one big mob, man. These devils have always worked alongside one another, and when you look into their past, you see that they were always there together, man. But that image of division is being put out there, and this is the visions that were being shown, because ultimately the Lord said these things would be taking place. Okay, and it's going to become a point of no return very soon, man. And we're really at that point, man. There ain't no turning back now. Esau just has to go ahead and dive into this narrative of division, man. Because it's too late. Now the people are divided one against each other. Okay, people who follow the left are divided against those that follow the right. And it's created such a rift in the country that this place is just going to be completely through. And not only have these people been at each other's throats, but they're financially strained because of the policies that are being done. And that's why it talks about in Daniel's, I believe that's chapter 12, near the end. Or was it chapter 10? I forget exactly where it's at. Where he shall cause chapter 8, Daniel's chapter 8 and verse 25. And now this is talking about Antiochus Epiphanes, all right? But we use it today because Esau Edom is doing the exact same thing. Okay, Daniel's chapter 8 and verse 25. And through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. And we, again, when you go into the history, Antiochus Epiphanes was making a lot of changes out there in those regions that he conquered, okay, specifically in Jerusalem, and the different encampments of Israel, where he was making different changes to make it illegal to, follow and worship Yahweh Bashim El Shai, and made it a thing of reward to become a Greek. Okay, but here it is in these days that we're living in. Okay, a lot of craftiness is being done through his policies to make people further, what's the word? It's not exploit or jeopardize, but basically to further ruin themselves. Okay, because what people are doing through these different policies that are being done is they're picking a side, and what they don't understand is that they've been blinded to believe that these are their only options, that what's being presented to them is their only option. But there's other things out here, other ways for you to escape these things, and the number one way to do that is, and the only way to escape these things, is through coming back to Yahweh Bashim El Shai for you Israelites. Okay? But again, Esau Edom is creating this illusion of you have to pick a side. Because what he's doing is he's causing this division to happen because he wants to bring about an order. This is why he's spending this money on bullshit and putting it out here on Front Street for all to see, because he wants you to be mad. He wants you to be upset. He wants you to take to the streets. Okay? But ultimately, we know that it's going to backfire on these devils, but it's going to bring about the chaos that's needed, man. Okay? And those of you that follow after Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, you should understand this, because this is a time for us to rejoice. This is a time for us to call more upon Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, because we know that our redemption draweth nigh, because these things were said to these things were said to happen in the last days. Okay? And Yahushua is going to appear soon. So we have to be rejoicing, man. Because soon our works are going to pay off, man, as I did in my previous lesson, man. Our works are going to pay off while these people are getting ready to suffer great travesties in their life, man. They think that this divisions and these conflicts that are taking place right now around the world and in America is something bad. Well, it's going to get only worse, man. Okay, it's only going to get worse. Okay? So, I'm just going to leave it there, man. That's pretty much it, man. These devils are just playing games, mind games with you people. All right? They're just, want you at each other's throats while they in the background working together to bring about their chaos that they want. All right? Because ultimately they have an agenda to bring about the image of the beast. All right? Which is going to be the order from that's going to be used, or that's going to be brought forth from the chaos, okay, that they've created. Order out of chaos. All right, look it up. So Lord's will, this was edifying. I want to give all the praise and all the glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Rachah HaKwadash. Double honors to the elders, apostles, a great millstone, and much blessing and salutations to the Akim around the four corners of the earth who are diligently pushing out His truth and His truth in sincerity. With that, I say Shalom.